Hello and welcome to my channel, Vice Rhino here. Today we're looking at a video by restored COG pastor David C. Pack, and it's another sexy video, so get ready to polish your pearls and tickle your pickles.
The world has been ignorant of the true purposes of sex.
If you want to get really technical, the only real purpose for sex is to make babies. It just happens to also be fun and feel good.
The result has been untold pain and suffering for the masses. This near epidemic of misery is measured in disease, new kinds of perversion, unwanted pregnancies, often yielding abortions, illegitimate children or unwanted children in marriage, skyrocketing divorce rates, which in turn produce corresponding numbers of jumbled families, bankruptcies, court battles, and even crime.
If you look at the statistics, most of those problems, including abortion, divorce, and crime, are more prevalent in more religious communities. So those dirty secular folks seem to have figured out how to not let sex-related problems get out of hand. Maybe that comes from paying attention to sex education. I'll bet that you're in favor of an abstinence-only education, which definitely would lead to unwanted pregnancies, disease, and abortions.
Sadly, these conditions grow worse and more complicated, with each new generation compounding the problems and evils of the previous one.
Which would seem to be correlated with the success that right-wing evangelicals have had with infiltrating the school system.
Tragedy, unhappiness, and confusion about sex and marriage have afflicted every nation of the world for thousands of years.
Source, please.
And people have not known where to turn for the answers, the solutions to so many ill effects. But there are answers, there are solutions, and you can know them. What has not been known is that there is a vital missing dimension to marriage and sex. This broadcast reveals it.
I don't know. I get the feeling already that you're one of these guys that's really good at prattling on about a subject without actually saying anything important. Have you tried politics?
The world is now drenched, in fact drowning in a deluge of sex, with much or most of it having no connection to any real meaning or right purpose. More than ever in history, all mankind is awash in every conceivable sense.
Okay, man, if you're going to insist on referring to sex using words like drenched, deluge, and awash, then I'm going to have a really hard time not descending into childish sex jokes. Did you do that on purpose?
Sexual pleasure, fantasy, perversion, and pursuit, in or out of marriage, and with fewer people any longer making a distinction between the two.
And what does it matter to you if I am having sex without having signed a contract first? Because that's really all marriage is a contract that provides certain social and tax benefits. I know that's not very romantic, but it's the truth.
There has come to be no end to and virtually no limits on advertisements, television programs, movies, books, magazines, articles, pictures, and websites for every sex-related activity that the misguided creative genius of human beings could devise.
And what's your point? You've failed to demonstrate so far that there's actually anything morally wrong with any of these activities.
But sadly, there has been a worldwide drought in right understanding of marriage and sex, and almost none know why they were born or what is the supreme purpose for human life.
I don't believe there is a supreme purpose for human life, but even if there was, what has that got to do with sex? Are you about to assert that people who have sex outside of marriage make it their purpose in life? Because the vast majority of us don't. Those that do usually end up seeking professional help for it.
Most have no idea there even is a purpose for human existence. Believing himself to be merely the highest of the animals in an evolutionary chain.
You had to bring evolution into this, didn't you? Well, since you did, allow me to clear up what was wrong with your statement. You managed to fit quite a bit of misinformation into one single sentence. Now, we are not the highest animal on an evolutionary chain. We are the most intelligent. And chain is a really bad word. It's more like a tree. The branch that we happen to be at the top of is the intelligence branch. There are other branches that are equally high on other parts of the tree. Strength, longevity, reproductive capacity, size, speed, dexterity, the list goes on. Pick any of these categories except for intelligence, and I can find you at least one animal that does better than humans in that area, though usually there are many. It's creationism that teaches the arrogance that we are the ultimate beings on the planet, but you guys can't seem to stop projecting that belief onto us. So please, cut it out.
Cut can't cut it out. It'll grow right back.
Man has remained in the dark, completely unable to see a reason for sex.
I told you, the most basic reason is to reproduce. Secondary reasons include fun, pleasure, and bonding with a partner.
Or for human beings existing as men and women.
Wait, when you've been saying sex this whole time, have you been meaning gender? Because I thought you meant the act. If you want the purpose of gender, it's to increase genetic diversity to increase the odds of the species' survival as a whole.
Yet there is an awesome purpose for humanity collectively and you personally, and, when fully understood, it is inseparable from the purposes of sex and the marriage institution. Recognize that you have been trained, actually conditioned in wrong knowledge and values about this subject. Not only do you need to learn the truth of when and why sex and its vital hidden role in marriage, but you have to be prepared to unlearn all the error that has been pumped into you about them.
You still have yet to say anything about why anything I know about sex is wrong, or provide any alternative. And what is this hidden meaning of sex in marriage? Does that mean that to you there's a meaning aside from bonding, pleasure, or reproduction? Please elaborate. And when I say elaborate, I don't mean continue rambling on without saying anything. I mean actually discuss what the hell you're talking about.
You must be reconditioned to the truth.
Which is?
As you would with any other Bible teaching, you must be prepared to wash your mind.
Brainwash, did you say? Yeah, makes sense to me.
From all assumptions, error, and wrong thinking. But before we can understand all that God teaches about the purposes of sex, we must examine what is occurring today.
So does this mean you're going to spend 90% of the video talking about your homophobia?
The sexual revolution of the latter 20th century changed the entire world, and not for the better.
Yeah, wasn't the world so much better when we chemically castrated the gays? Such good times.
During this period, the idea of sex without boundaries exploded. The advent of cable television, the internet, and the vast expanse of every conceivable kind of pornography it offers, and the ease with which adult videos can be obtained, have helped spread the mindset that all sex is good in or out of marriage.
It has also provided safe, legal, and relatively anonymous outlets for people with violent sexual tendencies, leading to the reduction of sex-related crime, which I would consider to be a pretty good thing.
Barriers everywhere have dropped and are still dropping as they near a complete collapse on all fronts. Every day sees new lows in immorality, perversion, debauchery, and anything goes when it comes to sexual habits and appetites. Experimentation and indulgence have become the norm.
Okay, but you still haven't explained why anything about sex is immoral. Why do you care about what goes on in my bedroom? It won't affect you at all, whether I'm having vanilla sex, experimenting with BDSM, or swapping. It will have zero effect on your life. So please get to the point. What do you think is wrong with it, and why do you think it is wrong?
Most have come to believe that free sex in every form, with the same or opposite sex or both, is a simple matter of personal preference. It is as though there is no longer the slightest concern about whether sexual activity is right or wrong.
Once again, you have given me no reasons why any sex would be wrong. That's no reasons. Zero. Zip. Zilch. Nada. You haven't even given a bad reason like, because God done said it. You seem to just be taking it for granted that I have the same opinion as you as to what is right and wrong with regards to sex.
Vast millions now believe that achieving sexual pleasure in any setting, for any purpose, and involving any kind of experimentation or activity, and this includes any number of men and women participating in a single sexual episode, is perfectly acceptable and is now seen as almost a human right of sorts.
As long as everyone is consenting, why not?
By every earlier human standard and definition of morality, not to mention what God teaches, sexual values in the early 21st century are infinitely worse than a mere 50 years ago.
By every moral standard throughout history, are you including ancient Rome where pederasty was acceptable as long as the child was not a freeborn Roman? Because if you are, I don't think they would think our sex has gotten out of hand.
Words like shocking, disgusting, sickening, and revolting come to mind when one looks across the world at what is now seen to be normal conduct to vast numbers.
So stop looking, you pervert. If you don't peek into someone's bedroom, you can't be disgusted by what they do there.
Even the bestiality more common in ancient times is quietly reappearing.
Source, please.
It is not too early to ask, how soon before this perversity becomes at least tacitly accepted by society? Adultery is now rampant in all Western nations, with approximately 83% of U.S. households experiencing and afflicted by what is being committed by what one or both mates are doing.
That was incredibly vague. Can you imagine that question on a survey? Excuse me, have you experienced or been afflicted by what is being committed by one or both of you? What the hell are you even talking about? Porn? Cheating? Sex positions other than missionary? Sex with the wife's maid? Oh wait, that last one's okay according to your book, so that couldn't be the issue.
The suffering of all kinds connected just to illicit sex by married people is staggering to consider.
What do you even consider illicit sex by married people? You're very confusing.
When will we find that 93 or even 100% of couples are no longer faithful in marriage?
So you were talking about cheating? I would love to see your source which claims that 83% of marriages have experienced cheating. The source I found, link in the description, gives 41% of marriages that have experienced infidelity, and that includes emotional infidelity, so the number of people that actually had a physical affair involving sticking a penis in a vagina would be much lower. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. That's about as much patience as I have with this David C. Pack character at the moment. So tune in next time for part 2 of this video. And please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe.